It's playoff time for the Vikings. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Lago Vista Football Show, right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. And first off, I do want to apologize. The last couple of weeks of the year just went really, really weird for me. My mother-in-law broke her hip, and then last week I got COVID, and that was my first time getting COVID. I kind of was like, wow. Yeah, okay. And I just was out for the last part of the week. So I do apologize for missing some coaches shows. But I got one cool thing that's going to be coming up in the offseason that you are going to like. Coach Creighton Phillips and I, we've been talking, doing this video interview. What's not really about like this season. It's just about him as a coach and his coaching stops, and of course, including here in Lago Vista. So be checking that out. I actually recorded that with him. And then I also had recorded the weekly show that I would do with him, like, you know, this one right here. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go take a break. I went and laid down and slept for like 11 straight hours. I had felt weird, but I didn't really know I was sick at the time. So I do apologize for that. But we are back on track for the playoffs. And, of course, he's here to talk about the playoff game against Bandera. If you can't make the game, you can still watch it. Just go to the Viking Sports Network on HudlTV. Go to fan.hudl.com, search for Lago Vista, and then you can buy the broadcast for tonight, or for Friday night, excuse me. It's $8 for a single broadcast, $15 for the month, $75 for the year. If you have any questions, just email eholt@lagovistaisd.net. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's the head coach of the Vikings, Coach Creighton Phillips, right here on the Viking Football Show. Do you have a kid that plays sports? Are you yourself a weekend warrior? Then I'm going to tell you something. Check out NeuroGuardPlus.com. That's NEURO guardplus.com. It's a mouthpiece that can not only help with concussions, but can dramatically affect the way you perform. And the mission of NeuroGuard is to, of course, reduce the risk of suffering a concussion when participating in any contact sport, military, anything that you're doing physical that you could take a blow to the head. You might want to put in a NeuroGuard mouth guard. And as I said, it not only helps eliminate concussions, it helps you perform better by simply aligning your jaw properly. And that sounds like such a simple thing, but it is so important because it allows oxygen to get to your brain. And when you get oxygen to the brain, you don't have that fog of sports or that fog of war where you get confused. And if you've ever played football, you know that's a sport where that can happen. Especially, man, you're in there in the trenches and you take a shot to the side and all of a sudden things are spinning. This mouth guard will help you keep focus by, again, simply keeping oxygen going to your brain 100%. Again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com. And if you play sports, if you have a kid that plays sport, if you do something physical, one of the things that Dr. Hutchinson, the creator of this, was talking about was some people will use it when they're doing yard work and when they're mowing and things like that, where they're being physically active because they know it helps align their jaw and it keeps oxygen going to the brain, which also helps your lungs, by the way, when you can have full breath every time as you're performing. So again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball.
Terry Bennett back here on the Lago Vista Football Show, now joined by the head coach of the Vikings, Coach Creighton Phillips. And, Coach, first off, I know the season didn't end how you wanted it to, but still, you make the playoffs. Congratulations. Let's just talk this season, because you and I have talked about this on the air. We've talked about it off the air. 7-3, but this has just kind of been a weird season at times.
It has. You know, going into this season, we felt like we would be in a position to play for a district championship last regular season game and, you know, have some momentum going into the playoffs. And we did find ourselves in that position. It wasn't the clean and easy path, or, you know, at least the clean path anyways. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. We have a really tough schedule, a lot of respectable coaches and schools that we played against this year. That all do a great job. We've just kind of been a little inconsistent, really. You know, we've either won or we've kind of laid an egg. So Friday night was one of those. Of course, Wembley, certainly probably the most complete team that we've played this year as far as, talent, coaching, their depth, everything that, their experience, all that stuff. Those guys were really good, and, things, they got off to a bad start and never really kind of got on top.
Well, when you're talking about this district, and this has been such a different district to where y'all had been the last couple years, and you had y'all and Navarro and Wimberley, and then the have-nots, and it was a pretty big gap between them. This year's district, it was completely different. I mean, the team that I still say upset y'all early in the district, they end up not even making the playoffs this year.
Right. No, I think top to bottom, the quality of this district is phenomenal. I think the coaches do a great job. It was something that there were no off weeks. You had to prepare every week like you were in a battle royale, whether you were on the road or at home. It didn't matter. And so we had some great battles. And I told the fans that, going into the season, every game's going to be a good one. I felt like there's not going to be huge lopsided games one way or the other. Didn't feel like that was going to be the case, and the most lopsided games we were on the wrong end of. So that has been a little bit of an odd season, but it's been a great district to be a part of. Just the respect I have for the coaches in our district and the job that they do. We had our district meeting yesterday, and it was good to see all those guys.
Well, when we talk about, schedule and your district, and, we've talked here this year and before about, how important it is to play a non-district schedule that's competitive, because when you're in a competitive district, now that it's the playoffs, how important is all that? Does that matter as much as sometimes fans think it does, playing a tougher schedule in the regular season?
I think where it helps is the preparation, the weekly preparation. That the kids are used to the amount of time and energy that needs to go into having a successful week. I think sometimes you have a little bit lax schedule. You might have a little bit easier practice schedule that week, or, it's hard to maybe get the kids to really focus in because they know, this is going to be, we're more talented than them and it's going to work out. We'll figure it out, that kind of week, versus when you play, quality schools week in and week out, then the kids get in a rhythm of, we need to watch this much film. We need to focus while we're at practice. We need to make sure that we're giving great effort day in and day out. And I think that is what makes you, battle ready for the playoffs and for running the playoffs, where it's not maybe tedious, or it's this new level of energy that is required for the playoffs. That level of energy just kind of happens naturally because of the importance of each week, but you have already trained on how to prepare week in and week out.
All right. Well, let's talk about your first round opponent, Bandera, 7-3. Just like y'all, this game, of course, for people that know, Friday at San Marcos's Toyota Rattler Stadium. When you look at the film, what are your thoughts on the Bulldogs?
These Coach Fontenot Amity does an awesome job with those guys. We saw them a couple years ago. It's a similar team. Looks like they're a little bit more explosive offensively this time around. They've done some no huddle stuff. They've done some things to help themselves out to be successful with the pace of play, and they got a good quarterback and a good set of receivers. Good size. They're coached well. They tackle well in space. So, we're going to have our work cut out for us.
And this is a program that, that had made the playoffs only a few times over the last 15 years. They had that state championship 20 years ago, and then they kind of went into a football void. They won their first playoff game last year since, I think 2007 or 2008. And now they have a completely different, mindset of where they were maybe a couple years ago. How important is that mindset? And you know that with this, this program, where y'all were when you were just making the playoffs, and now you're expected to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's different as you approach the week. That the goal wasn't making the playoffs; mm-hmm. It was winning in the playoffs. And so, just depending on where you're at as a program, sometimes just making the playoffs is the goal, and that is something to be celebrated, and that's where you're at as a program. Once you get past that hump, then the next thing is let's make a run, and so I think them coming off of a a playoff win last year. This is 3 years in a row for the playoffs for them. Certainly they're going to want to get more than just, to the doorstep. They're going to want to, take a little trip here. So that's going to be up to us to prevent that from happening and get our own run started.
When it's playoffs for you, do y'all do anything different, or you're one of those that you like to just keep the week like it's just a normal week of football?
Schedule-wise, it's very, very similar. I think humans in general are creatures of habit. When you change things too much, it has a tendency to lose focus. The only thing we really do is probably back off a little bit on how much full contact we have during the week, but otherwise the practice schedule, how we prepare, is something that's very, very consistent. And so that's not really much different. We do try to be careful because at this point there is no time to get over injuries. You have to be all hands on deck every week at this point, and so you don't want to cause yourself any more harm than you have to. I mean, you have to prepare. You have to continue to stay sharp. So we've got to run fast. We've got to hit. We've got to do things. But we do try to limit somewhat some of the full contact that we do.
Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. As always, I want to thank Coach Phillips for joining us here on the Viking Football Show. Again, if you cannot make the game, check it out, fan.hudl.com. Search for Lago Vista and find the broadcast. $8 for a single broadcast. I think you should go ahead and buy the month. I think Lago Vista is going to be playing for a couple rounds at least. This is going to be a tough one, though. I did a Bandera coaches show last year, and that's Coach Fontenot Amity's a great guy, and that's a really good program. He's really turned them around. They got their first district championship in like 20 years last year, their first playoff win since 2007. The arrows definitely pointed up in Bandera, and I think this is a really good matchup. And Coach and I were kind of talking before we started recording, and he said it best. They're when you add up their point totals, how much they've scored, how much they've given up, it resembles Lago Vista a lot. I do think you can make the case that Lago Vista's played a tougher schedule. But still, this is a Bandera team that's playoff experienced, and I think it's going to be a fun matchup. And we do appreciate everybody for joining us. If you're going to the game, be safe. Again, if you're not, just go to fan.hudl.com, type in Lago Vista broadcast. And until next week, I'm Terry Bennett, and this has been the Lago Vista Football Show on L4 Media.